to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. It's 8:30, Tuesday, December 14th, 2021. This is the Mitchell County Board of Supervisors meeting at the Mitchell County Courthouse. In front of us, we have an agenda. Is there any comments or questions about it? If not, do we have any motions to approve?
Move to approve.
Jim has made a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mike has seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Moving down, approve the minutes of the December 7th meeting and the claims. So hopefully everybody had a chance to read the meeting minutes. And is there any comments or questions on last week's minutes and the claims?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and claims.
Mark has made a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Todd has second. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
So, the December 7th meeting minutes and claims have been approved. Moving on down, County Attorney, general discussion. Mark, are you out there?
Yes, I am. The only thing I have for you is that Rsvp trial was supposed to be this Friday. It still may be. Mike Byrne is now representing him. I filed a motion to continue, or he filed a motion to continue. I filed a resistance. The magistrate hasn't ruled on it yet. That's only relevant if some of you were planning on attending the trial just to watch. I'll keep you updated on whether it's actually going or not when the magistrate rules whether it's continued.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Do you have anything else?
I don't have anything else other than the 8:45 hearing.
Okay. Jim? Mike? Anybody have any questions for Mark?
No.
Oh, not right now. We do not have any questions for you, so thank you, Mark.
All right, thanks.
Sheriff update. Would you like to have the floor?
It's going to be a deputy update, but nothing to report, so I'll make it easy on this morning. Unless you got some questions about our report.
Seems to be no questions. Thank you.
Thanks.
Moving on down, department head discussion. Do we have any department heads here? Or online? Hearing none?
I thought Laura was coming, but no. Oh, okay.
We will move on. We will move down to number 9, county engineer update. Rich? Good morning.
Project updates. Folsom Bridge. They've got the south abutment poured, the south pier poured. They're going to start backfilling that pier so they can move the channel to the south and start working on the north pier and north abutment this week. Today, I think they're going to try to do some test piles once they get the excavation done. Maybe try to test pile today. If they do hit rock, which we think they will, they'll start doing some socket drilling today also. But at the earliest, maybe by the end of the week, because tomorrow's going to be windy and wet, that they'll try to maybe have some sockets poured if things go well at the earliest by the end of the week, and then maybe next week. They're going to be off-site after, I think after this week for Christmas, and then New Year's they'll come back the 4th. so they'll be off for some time here. But they want to before they leave. I don't know if it's not exactly this end of this week, but I think in the early next week before Christmas, they'll be taking off. And then what they want to have done is they want to have all the piers and abutments poured if things go well, so that after the new year they can come and try to start decking. So they'll do what they can as far as, you know, putting the wood decking on for the casting of the bridge deck itself and put the steel on. I don't know if they'll get any pouring done, just depends on what the weather does. They can pour in the wintertime as long as they tent and heat, but aside from that, we can't really backfill with frozen material, so we might still have to worry about the roadway part might have to wait because we can't open it to traffic without guardrail and everything else. So, but we'll see, they'll still progress, and maybe, well, maybe the frost is shallow enough yet, we can still do some backfilling, but we'll just see where it's at. So that's with that project. So other than that, I've got this final pay estimate for you. I know, Steve, we thought we had it signed earlier. It was a final, but it was a preliminary final. It was before the
Draft.
yeah. And again, I forgot to, the final dollar amount isn't any different. This is gonna be more for retainage, so.
Okay.
It's just another voucher that the DOT needs the board chair to sign, and then I can sign all the other paperwork.
So we have to go through a resolution for the final pay then, or is that already, did we accomplish that resolution with the?
Kinda think you might have already done it. This is kind of a formality.
why
and the fact that
questioning.
we signed the other one first, and this is just kind of a redo. You already accepted the project last time, I think, so.
So we do not have to have any motions?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, we called the last one final, and that was just,
Okay, that's what I'm asking. And I'll sign this.
and just an equipment update. We got our equipment sold, and we had found a new boom truck over the week, so as soon as we get a check written, we're gonna go pick up a different boom truck just north of the border. So.
Okay, you've got it marked here as project engineer. You want me to sign my name in the next space below?
Yeah, you sign where the board signs. I'm sorry, I checked where I always sign, because I'm always the one signing it. So. Good catch. So yes, we'll be getting a truck this week, hopefully, if we get the check written, and then,
Wait, that's right.
flip it over. You sign the other.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Is it comparably sized to what we had before?
I need to be a little bigger, but it'll be, I think it's I don't know that it's a tandem axle, I think it's a single axle, but I think it's got a, I'd have to remember now, I don't think it's got close to a 60-foot boom. So it's
Outriggers,
yeah.
What'd you end up doing the other one? Did
Sold
you,
it on auction.
you did that one on the auction
Yeah,
too?
that one and the big piece of equipment, the boom truck and the Oshkosh dump truck went on the auction, along with a little mower, so. The total sales there were, with everything that we sold, was enough to cover the cost of the other boom truck and then a little extra, so. Made some to spend some, I guess, so. Other than that, that's all I've got for you this morning. I think the snow removal went well over the storm event we had, as messy as it was. I think we did a lot of rock throwing in ditches, so kind of tried to prevent some of that, just kind of rolling it off of the edge, so.
Yeah, I think they did a pretty good job of it. Yep.
As far as snow depths, I don't know how much we got. It depends on where you were at.
Yeah.
If I walk out in my lawn, then it's probably 4 to 6. So.
Got the chainsaws ready to go for tomorrow on Thursday?
And maybe get the boom truck today yet.
Yeah.
maybe use it. So. But, yeah, we'll be getting geared up, I'm sure, with the wind and everything. We're gonna have some branches scattered, and maybe some trees. So we'll just cross our fingers we don't, but Mother Nature's crazy now.
Yeah. That's for sure.
I got 2 items for you.
Yep.
Could we put in the paper about people pushing snow out in the middle of the road?
Yes. Yes. I had
I had that, I seen 2 of them already from one snow.
We had it's ironic, we had a discussion about that in Worth County too, with snow pushing across the road too.
I remember once, when I pushed it back into the person's driveway, and Jim Hyde said, you probably shouldn't do that, but I got their attention that they didn't do it after that again.
Yeah, a lot of times, we'll put something in the paper and on the website too. I don't know if a lot of people get the paper, and then what typically happens if we do get a complaint about that, we usually have the foreman go and talk with the person first. Maybe some people aren't always aware that it's not proper to do, so we always like to do a little visit first before they get a letter, because sometimes people take a letter a little bit more non-personally, I guess, and they kind of take it, get a little more upset if you just don't talk to them. So.
The other item is those 2 bridges on Indigo.
Mm-hmm.
Any ideas on those?
Yeah, they're in the process of getting designed right now. We're looking at trying to figure out what we're gonna put in there with the height requirements we have with the roads and the flow lines at the top of the road. If we wanna put rail car pipe in, we're looking at, the original designs were top of road to bottom of flow line with 6.5 to 7.5 feet. Original designs in the 50s, which rail car pipe, we put them in there, we're gonna have to either bury the pipe or raise the road, so we're finding some options right now. The goal is to try to get something done with them this spring.
Spring, yeah, I was
Yeah.
contacted on those bridges too, at least the one.
Okay, and then we're going through another bridge inspection right now. They'll get looked at again real shortly, I would guess. And I'm trying to remember what the bridge reports had on them from last.
South one probably doesn't go through the process, does it?
None of them do,
The
but.
north one does?
No, none of them go through the official NBIS process because they're shorter than 20 feet, but we had some around the county want to look at, so we had brought them in to look at these shorter span bridges. They're not, like I said, they're not on the NBIS, the National Bridge Inventory System, because they're less than 20-foot span.
Okay.
But because they're still a span, we wanted WH, I don't think they've been inspected for a lot of years. And then we decided that a couple of years ago, we should probably have them looked at just to verify how good they are. And if I remember, I don't have the report, I'd have to go look at the report again. If I remember, the report on the South Bridge was, I think the recommendation was a 4 to 6 year replacement, so, but we're gonna get them done earlier than that, so.
There's currently no weight restrictions on those.
I don't believe so, I'll have to look at the report again, and
It's posted on the south, I know.
on the South Bridge,
Well,
or on the south intersection.
South intersection.
Okay, then I'll have to look to make sure that there's, I'm trying to remember, I think one of them, I'll have to look. I think what the report was, one of them was repair the pile or post it, the other one was, it's okay, but plan on replacing it soon. I think the intent was to try to repair piles, we never did get it, but we must have posted it before we repaired the piles, but I'll have to double check on the posting, on the south side. But the north one would be the one that would probably be posted then. But
Okay.
if we're gonna try to get them knocked down, and I don't know if you've seen the signs or not, I guess I don't remember seeing,
Pretty sure.
okay,
How many,
all
how
right.
many ton is it?
They're pretty low, actually, I think, if
Yeah.
they're posted.
There's no way to run that water on the east side and eliminate those two?
Wouldn't that be nice? If you wanna do that, you're talking to the Army Corps and the DNR, and I think you're gonna have to try to move mountains to get that. I know it used to be a lot easier to do that, because I know it's happened before, but I'm not sure. I mean, it'd be a great idea, but if you run it on one side, well, I mean, it's,
I don't, yeah.
it's a good idea. I always wondered, because we've got, you look at timber going north up there, where we've got 4 or 5 different crossings in 1 mile or a couple mile stretch of road. It's just crazy, but it takes I hate to say it, an act of God to get something like that changed with the DNR. When you start doing natural flows, if I remember right, if you look at the length of the stream bed and what you're gonna alter, you might have to pay fees for, there's some confusing things that go with changing the stream bed flows. So it's not a short process, but if you're done with me, I'll just sit back.
Are we?
Yeah.
Yep.
See, okay.
I like that. And I'll be gone at the engineers conference the rest of the week.
All right, thank you,
Have
Rich.
fun.
All right. 8:45, public hearing to vacate 400th Street. 8:46. We'll open that public hearing. Is there any written or oral comments? Supervisors, did you have any?
Nope.
Nope. Auditor?
Oh,
Is there any discussion on it? I'm not seeing. Is there any discussion on it online? All right, then I guess with that, we'll close the public hearing. So, approve resolution 1111-21. And that would be for 400th Street. And I guess should I just read this on the front?
you don't have to read it, it's just the resolution to vacate 400th Street.
Well, just in case, it's 400th Street located north of south half of S, one half of northwest fractional quarter northwest, 1/4 of section 2, township 98, range 15, west of 5th PM, Mitchell County, Iowa. That way we've got kind of a general description of the spot where it is. Anyways, do we have any motions to approve this resolution of conveying this?
I'll move to approve the resolution 11/11/21 to vacate 400th Street.
Todd has made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Jim has seconded. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Todd?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Steve?
All right,
Mike?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
okay, we have officially vacated.
This is Mark. I've got tax school this morning, so I'm going to leave the meeting now. If anybody has any questions, you can just call over to our office and I can get back on.
All right, thank you, Mark. Okay. Moving on. Consideration of compensation board salary recommendations for year 22-23. Supervisors, you have all this in front of you. And shall I read these, Rachel?
You can,
Pardon? Okay. Whereas the Mitchell County Compensation Board meets annually to recommend a compensation schedule for elected officials for the fiscal year immediately following, in accordance with Iowa Code Chapters 33-905 and 33-1-907. And whereas the Mitchell County Compensation Board met on December 8th, 2021, and made the following recommendations for the following elected officials for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2022. Elected official auditor. Current salary $63,911.35. Proposed increase $3,195-57. So the new recommended salary will be, $67,911 $106.92. Recorder,
Recorder and treasurer are the same.
are they?
Over.
All right. County attorney. His current salary is $78,429.33. We'll just go right to the recommended salary of $82,350.80. Sheriff. Current salary of $92,764.25. Recommended salary will be $105,751.25. Supervisors. $34,750 was the current. Recommended $36,487.50. Therefore, it be resolved that Mitchell County Board of Supervisors adopt the salary recommendations for elected officials for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022, as recommended by the Mitchell County Compensation Board. And I shouldn't have to read this all over again, should I? Betty?
Yes, you didn't mention what the increase in percentage was.
14 for sheriff and 5% for everyone else.
Okay, I guess I would like to just say a few words on behalf of the taxpayers.
3 minutes, Betty. Thank you.
You know, I think this is very important, Steve. I read chapter 231, 907, and what it says is that the board, that the compensation board shall look at like comparable salaries for the elected officials, such as the auditor, recorder, and so on. And it specifically spelled out sheriff. And the sheriff, it said that they may consider an increase for the sheriff and looking at professional law enforcement administration and compensation for the command officers of the state patrol, division of criminal investigation, and city police agencies in the state. Now, it also goes further to say under parent 3 and 331-907, parent 3, it says that the Board of Supervisors, the first part says that if you were to decide to decrease anybody's, it had to be by like percentages. However, there's one stipulation, and that's the Board of Supervisors. And the Board of Supervisors may decrease their own salary, or they may choose not to take any raise. And I guess I would point that out because the supervisors here, there are 4 brand new supervisors. You've been here for 11 and a half months. Steve, you've been here for about 3 years. And I think I think you would be heroes in saying that you would not accept anything for yourselves. I think that you haven't had time to really get into all of the laws, the work, and I have looked at several things that have happened that perhaps even made the auditor a lot more work. Now, I look at the auditor, recorder, and treasurer, and the sheriff, those people, they're on duty every day of the week, you know, during working hours. The supervisors have discretion, and I did ask, and there are 5 of you, so I asked the auditor, you know, if you each had a day of the week that you were to be on duty, or whatever, we were responsible for it. I asked if you were in the office, and they said they didn't have to be because you're elected officials. I don't know if you serve a full day, but, you know, I would question the number of hours that's spent, having been on the Board of Supervisors 24 years, and I recognize all the committees, and I do know that many of them, there are 3 I can think of that you would spend a full day away out of the county. That would be Heartland Insurance Risk Pool, 2nd Judicial District, and Juvenile Detention Center. A lot of the meetings otherwise would be in Mason City, Charles City, or locally. And they might be in the daytime hours, might take up a few hours, half a day, or in the evening. A lot of them are quarterly meetings, bi-monthly or monthly.
You got just about 15 seconds left, Betty.
I think that if you divide that by 5 people, that you're not, the workload isn't real heavy. So I would ask respectfully that the Board of Supervisors reject their salary.
Okay,
Can I comment on that?
you're the supervisor, you.
I'm asking the chair. Okay, I disagree with some of that because when we started this job, we got a 14.98% cut in as far as what the wages were. And in my opinion, it's not the compensation board to decide if we're new or not. The compensation board is to base our salaries off of other counties involved. The electorate are the people that decide if we're new or not. The electorate could have voted people in that had experience. They chose not to do that. We pretty much are a new board because the electorate decided that. If the electorate does not like us, then it's up to them to vote us out. It's not up to the compensation board to decide if we're new and doing a good job or not. That's my opinion.
I just know that
And I don't know, he's gonna have to let you know if you can follow up.
All right.
Can I make a comment? Being here every day, these guys put in more hours than the last 3 supervisors ever did, and it's more than just 1 day a week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any other comments? Keith?
I was just wondering why the discrepancy in the percentage.
There's a law change for the sheriff. It went from shall consider to shall, and so they have to, the 3 that they have to compare with, I believe, with the Iowa State Patrol. If it was a city that was close to our size, so that compared to Waverly, I know was one of the main ones, and a DEA agent, is that correct?
So this was basically higher than Mitchell County's decision.
Correct.
This
The
comes
Reynolds
from the state.
signed a law.
Who requested?
The governor.
The government.
Keith?
The government.
Keith, and also part of it was, well, through the governor, but it's also part of the defunding the police. Like, unfortunately, I feel it wasn't Iowa, but there was a lot of states that during the time, the rough times, that defunding the police, and I think the governors are looking at that. It's like,
Governor should probably take some of that out of the budget.
I'm nothing against our law enforcement, but I totally agree.
Remember, and we don't want to have cross back and forth.
Yep.
We have one comment per item, and that's it.
My comments
Nope.
are-
Thank you, sir. All right. Is there any other public comment? Well, hearing none, do we have any motions to approve the,
Move to approve 1112-21.
all right, Jim has made a motion to approve the compensation board's recommendations. Do we have a second? Well, I can make a second. I can do that, so. Do we have any further discussion?
Roll call, Mark,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Todd,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Steve.
Aye. So we have approved the compensation board's recommendations for the year 22-23. Moving on. It's close enough, ain't it? We'll move to number 8, discussion and possible action on Rsvp funding for year 23. Do we have, yes, okay. Thank you. I will let you have the floor then.
Okay, thank
Your
you.
name is Molly?
Yep, I'm Molly Andrade, Director of RSVP at NIAC. And first, I just want to thank you all very much for your continued support of RSVP. I know we had a change from the state about funding nonprofits, and you kept funding us through that change, and so I really appreciate it. With me is Patty Hansen, our Dean of Continuing Ed from Nyack, and I'll just turn it over to her and then follow up with some more information about RSVP.
And oh, here we go. Yes. In the packets, there is a handout. We are rebranding our continuing education department, which RSVP is part of, and to help us let communities know that we're here to serve the community. We have Business and Workforce Solutions, and then Discover You, which Discover You is our community education, our life, leisure, personal enrichment classes, as well as our volunteer services. We have been fortunate to get a grant this last year to expand our volunteer services to those under 55 as well. So we've created a Nyack Volunteer Center with a focus on the college age students to help get them to volunteer as well. But we are very proud of our RSVP program, and Molly's going to talk a little bit more about that, but just knowing that volunteering is a vital part of our communities and how important it is to Nyack.
So I just want to start with that RSVP volunteers are back to serving in the schools this year. Took last year off because of COVID, and schools welcomed them back with open arms. They're happy to be back, and teachers are happy to have them. In fact, we're expanding in Osage and starting a reading coach program in the middle school. So if you know anyone 55 or older who'd like to read with adolescents, we are recruiting volunteers to do that. There's a great need at the middle school level for some extra reading support. Mr. Adams has been great to work with at the elementary school. In fact, the teachers were struggling a little bit with the Reading Buddy program this year and getting it started, so we kind of did a customized approach for Osage Middle School, elementary school, and they are serving there as well. So there has been some volunteer hesitancy this year, kind of a ripple effect from COVID, and so we just encourage people to volunteer if they feel comfortable, and ask volunteers and teachers to be flexible and increase communication if need be, and it really is going well. COVID really shined a light upon the importance of a program like RSVP and that extra support that volunteers provide. Teachers always knew that they were important, but I think when they didn't have them, they noticed even more how the students struggled with reading without that extra support. And that one-on-one support is just critical this year to help students get back on track. And then there's the emotional, social side of the program, which is sort of hard to track on paper, and we've also known how important that is, but that's another thing that became more obvious last year without volunteers in the building. So our request is the same as it's been, $5,000. Mitchell County is one of our newest counties to RSVP, and we're so grateful that you supported us right away. County funding is what helps us meet our goal of match funding in order to receive the federal funding, so we really rely on the counties and the United Way to help us do that. And any questions?
I'll just piggyback on that. I was wearing two hats. I'm on the school board here in town too, and we lost a couple over the COVID year and a half too that were volunteering, and I'm telling you, these kids are, the teachers got to pry the kids away from the volunteers to get on to the next class, because it's a very, very good program. And a month ago, we had the numbers, and through the COVID, our kids' reading was declining, and because of that. So we're back being pretty good right now, but the volunteers, it's unbelievable. It's a very good program.
You're a 501c3, is that correct? Nonprofit?
Correct. We fall under NIAC's nonprofit
Okay.
status, which is like nonprofit public.
Betty?
Oh, well, I was just curious what the stipend is. I mean, apparently there's some pay for the RSVP volunteers. Is that
No stipend for RSVP. You may be thinking of foster grandparents.
Ah,
which
that's
is-
what I'm thinking,
Yep, it's
yeah.
kind of a sister program to us.
Yeah.
They receive a stipend.
Okay.
RSVP does not. The only requirement is to be 55 or older.
Well, when you were talking about federal funding, that's what
Mhm.
made me think of it.
Yes.
That there was a stipend, yeah.
Right, yep, we do receive federal funding to coordinate the program. None of it goes to the volunteers.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions for Alan? Hearing none, I guess basically what I probably want to say it is we probably want to go through our budgeting
Oh,
to
sure.
see exactly, you know,
You bet.
I'm hopefully,
Mhm.
pretty sure you will get, but we should do our budgeting first, and then we will get in touch with you and
That
let
sounds
you
good.
know at that time. That sound fine?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's like every county.
Yes. All right, thank you for your
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you.
So much.
Was there a certain amount you were asking for from somebody, or?
$5,000.
Oh, okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. You bet.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now, number 11, Rachel.
Yep.
Consideration of wage increase for hourly employees. Would you like to?
That's for next fiscal year 23.
Okay,
Last year, you guys had done 55 cents for everyone.
last year we gave 55 cents.
I gave you guys that spreadsheet. I have it on the computer too, so I can change the percents. Last year, we based the 55 cents off, we averaged all the employees' hourly rates and based the percentage, the 2.5% off of that average, and it came to the 55 cents. So on the sheet that you have, doesn't mean we have to do it this way, I just put some numbers in there and it can be changed. I averaged what the compensation board did for all elected officials. It came to 6.5%, that average was. So then I averaged that or plugged that 6.5% into the average of last year's wages. Came up with the dollar amount that you can see on the back side of the page. So that's what it would be if you use the 6.5%. Comments, from what I've heard, the CPI is between 6 and 7%. I actually heard that this morning, 6.8% is what the number I heard this morning. And I'm not really so sure I agree with what the compensation board the sheriffs, they were locked into doing that. That was by the governor's thing. The 5%, I think they were pretty, as far as the CPI, I think they were low on that. I think 6 to 7% is what the CPI is, so. But I can change that percent to give you a different dollar amount if you're thinking of something different.
Well, I think the 2.5%, that was last year, isn't enough, based on inflation and everything. More around it, that 5%, I would say.
Any other comments? So Jim, you have, this sheet is,
I'm looking at it right now, so. On the back, you can see this, where the 6.5, that number, what that comes to. I just plugged in the 5 if you want to know what that one is.
So you're, I don't know, it's like last year, it wasn't a percentage, it was just a flat amount, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's what that dollar amount is that you see in the green on the last sheet on the bottom.
Last sheet on the
Yep.
bottom.
That's converted to a dollar amount.
Okay,
and that's at 6.5.
That's a 6.5 number.
so that's an average across the board, huh? Yep.
My comment is that it's hard to replace people today. Not a lot of people out there applying for jobs. We like to keep good people. So I think we need to consider that.
I agree with that.
Yes.
We have good people working for the county and we don't want them to leave.
So these that you filled this sheet out at 6.5,
I can give you some different ones if you want some different percents, if you want to think about something different.
well, I'm curious what your thoughts are. What is your personal recommendation?
I thought that the 6.5 represents what the CPI is, Consumer Price Index. I think the 5% that the Compensation Board did for the others is low. The 14% was what was required of them to do. But it just happens that the average of all those at 6.5 is pretty close to the Consumer Price Index, so that's why I put that in there. It can change, I can change it if you want.
You don't know how big of an impact that'll have on the total budget.
No, I don't. That's
That's a Rachel
That's
question.
her deal.
Rachel's quiet.
But you're using all the employees on this, because next year the deputies, nothing against the deputies, they get 85% of the sheriff's salary. So we've got to give that to them too by the legislative
Right.
mandate.
Correct.
So that's going to really jump next year for the average. Because it doesn't just affect the sheriff, and the deputies well deserved what they get, but they're going to get a pretty good increase too this year.
Yeah. I just wanted something that we could start with
Start
to
with,
look
yep.
at, so we discuss it.
Because last year we gave, what, 50 cents? 55? 55.
And this would be here at 6.5 is $1.46.
5% is $1.13.
Or 13.
Well,
Doubt if inflation's gonna go the other way, is it?
No,
Never does.
not when they flood the system with money, print money every day.
If I remember right, we were, as a new board last year, we were pretty conservative with that 55. I think if it would have been the board previous, they did it a little different, and I think it would have been a little more money. I'd have to go back, but I think we were a little conservative as a new board,
Previous times, they've always done it as far as a percentage with a minimum of a certain amount.
Okay, yeah.
Is what they've done. And a lot of times what that does is the people that are getting paid more get a larger percentage than what the people on
There you
the
go.
lower side are. So what we did is we just did a dollar amount for everybody. Because my thoughts are the inflation and the cost of living is the same for everybody, no matter if you're making a low amount on the pay scale or if you're making a high amount on the pay scale. It still costs the same amount to go buy a gallon of milk, buy gas, that type of thing. So we're not giving raises or bonuses, we're giving a cost of living increase. That's just how I think.
and that's all we're gonna give them at 6.5.
Base it on the Consumer Price Index.
Correct.
How do you feel?
I feel 5% is a little low.
That's a general consensus I'm gonna say up here.
And again, Jim's put a lot of work in this, 6.5.
And I won't take all, the auditor's office sent me the list of people's wages and stuff. They sent me the document, then I just finished it. So
Thank
it's
you,
not like I
Rachel.
entered all these people's names. I mean, I got the information from them and then
put the formulas in, so.
Well, again, they're not really getting a raise, they're just getting cost of living. So, would you make a motion for 6.5%?
I'll move to approve, well, not 6.5, we'll have to do the dollar amount, because that's.
All right, yep,
Dollar amount?
yep.
So I'll move to approve a $1.46 per hour increase to employees' wages, and for salaried people, how do I say that? For salaried people, I'll just say it, and then I guess we'll have to figure out how it's gonna be. For salaried people, the $1.46 is based on 2,080 hours a year, so you'll have to plug it into that. Is that, I mean, I know what I'm talking about, but I'm not sure how to motion it that way.
If the salaried employees are based upon the elected official, like the 80% or 85%, this wouldn't apply to them.
Correct.
So that might take care of most of your salary.
Yeah, but we do have some on salary that, so we'd have to convert it, we'd have to multiply with 2,080, but can you get a motion out of that?
Sounds good.
Well, it's just that annually then, 2,080 hours at $1.46.
About $3,000 approximately.
All right,
In my mind.
Anyway, there's the motion.
do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Mike has seconded. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Steve,
Aye?
Todd,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
So that has passed.
At $1.46 an hour for hourly, and however it went for salary. Moving on down the line, discussion and possible action on environmental health planning and zoning. So Amanda, you have the floor.
Nerves never get easier on these things, I swear. Okay, so there was a packet or a spreadsheet that you guys should have.
Yep.
I just wanted to pretty much make it aware that I've done a little bit of research on my position, in the split department. I have 2 different pages. One is for what other environmental health specialists and planning and zoning people in other counties get paid. I did their 2022 salary that was input into a system. I can't remember what that system is called. Rachel actually provided that website to me. And then I did what their salary would be after taxes based on what we get taken out of our taxes, so it could vary. Their years in the office, whether or not they're full-time or part-time, whether or not they hold that planning and zoning and environmental health position, and what their population by county is. When I did this research, it was a little bit surprising, to say none the least. I understand that a lot of these people have more years in their office position than I do, which is where the second page comes in of this spreadsheet. This is environmental health salaries throughout the state with similar experience to what I have. All of the columns in this spreadsheet are exactly the same as the first page. And the population by county is pretty important on this page because I know that there are other people in the state that have similar experience than I do, but obviously I'm not going to get paid the same amount as Story County or Polk County because population density matters. I just think that the average, after looking at it, is, if we're gonna talk about cost of living, there's no way off of my salary after taxes that cost of living is even affordable. So, and I know you guys just approved a $1.40 pay increase. That won't help my cost of living. So, just wanted to bring it to the attention to possibly either get 40 hours full-time, since I'm a full-time 30, or get a pay increase, or both would be nice, because even with 40 hours at what I'm making right now, my gross income, like for taxes at full-time, would be about what my 2022 salary is right now. That would be my take-home after taxes if I got only 40 hours at the same amount of money that I'm making right now, which is still the lowest of anybody in the region, and still the lowest out of the entire state with the same experience that I have. So, I don't know. I guess I more so wanted to bring it to the attention that I feel like with everything that I do, I'm a little bit underpaid. I mean,
So you have two roles, you have planning and zoning, and you have the
environmental
environmental
health.
health.
Yes.
And this board decides your planning and zoning
Right.
stuff.
Right.
And we stepped you up this you were started at $15 an hour in both departments, which is a pretty low wage nowadays, of course, especially with the amount of responsibilities that you have. We stepped you up to $17.50, and with the thought that there would be another step increase considered for the next fiscal year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but your environmental health job is controlled by the Public Health Board?
Board of Health,
Correct?
yes.
Board of Health?
Yes.
So we can't do anything with that.
Okay.
But it's good that you call it out so that it's known that there needs to be some
Right.
changes in that, on that side of it.
Yep, and I did talk to them at our last Board of Health meeting. They're here today.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
I just want to say, I'm Brenda Miller, I'm the president of the Board of Health, and we just asked Amanda and thought we should come today to see what the supervisor's feelings was about the position, and if the planning and zoning committee was at all interested in giving her more hours. I believe she's 10 hours planning and zoning and 20 hours sanitation or environmental health, before we voted on any other board.
Right, that's for us. Yeah, that's for us. Well, I feel Mitchell County has good employees and we need to keep them. We need to take care of them too, you know. Based on, say she is underpaid, you know, for her position, responsibility.
So if you have more hours, or obvious question, so do you have enough to do to keep busy? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, I have more
that's
than
an obvious
enough.
question.
Yeah, no, I have more than enough, especially with planning and zoning. My whole goal this winter is to figure out how to get zoning recognized on the internet, because I have a lot of people calling me, asking me what my property is zoned as, and I don't have records regarding their zoning. So stuff could be zoned as commercial, but I would have no idea because I don't have any record of a zoning change other than if they went through like a board of adjustment, and not all of those were recorded. So my whole plan is to go through every single parcel and figure out exactly what that parcel is zoned as, and hopefully get some sort of recognition, I know the camera can't see it, but on the map behind you, hopefully if those get printed out, especially for Mitchell County, it would be really helpful if those were color-coded for each zone. And I want to work with them on doing that for zoning. Just this month, I have 3 Board of Adjustment meetings that are consecutive weeks. I do have a lot to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've talked with her, and our filing system is terrible. She can't find anything, and she needs to get busy and try and get this stuff updated. People call in, and she has nothing. So we need to get back to recording things. She's trying to get the new laws up into place where we have people that have been doing this out in the field for a long time, and they're grumbling, but I told her we need to take baby steps at this and get it straightened away and get it back up to where it's supposed to be. Terrible records. And short term maybe, but she's got a lot to do. I think she needs to get that going and be in the office and get it up to where people call us, she can go to the file and pull up, and we know where the septics are, where the distribution boxes are, how long it's just stuff that has been taken for granted for a long time.
Well, you can get it in, you punch it in on the internet, you'll have it on there, and you'll be able to.
It would be nice if I had an online system, however, they do cost money.
Yep. Well, that would be the most efficient.
It would be the most efficient, especially if people from their houses could access their own information. Not that that is going to take away from what I would do. Obviously, inputting all of that information is important, but it would be helpful if people could go online and see exactly what they're zoned as, if they wanted to, if they're on a commercial property, but they're technically living there, realistically, they don't need to come to a Board of Adjustment meeting and waste a bunch of money to get things changed in their zoning if it's already zoned a certain way. And with septic systems, yeah, it would be nice if I could do online maps and they could go online and just look it up right then and there. But again, those programs, they cost big boo-boo bucks. I went to an environmental health training. Someone spent $50,000 on a system just to be able to put septic systems in. That's more than I get paid. It doesn't seem viable at that point to do an online system. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But I'm fine with doing the paper records right now. I'm going through all my files as of yesterday. I tore my whole office apart trying to figure out how I was going to rearrange everything, but still, I don't have the records to be able to tell people this is what you've got. Other counties have records of every single property in the county. I don't have that. So it would be nice if I did, so that would take up a lot of the time. Yeah.
Has the Board of Health reconsidered their, because half of it comes out of yours. In that last meeting we were at, she asked for.
We talked about it again at the last meeting. I don't think you were there.
No, the one before I
We
went.
decided to come here and get what the feeling of the board was as far as how many hours she is working and is needed for a job, and we'll take it back to the board again at our next meeting, which will be in January.
Because half of it comes out of your budget?
20 hours.
20 hours, yeah, so it's 2010 right now, currently.
And I know the septic system, there's months in the winter, obviously, where that's not as much of as many hours. I'm just guessing, so.
Yeah, I think that's why Mark was.
But I do know she's been doing a lot more in the job than I feel has been done in the past. So it maybe is, even on the sanitation part, is maybe more than 20 hours.
So are we thinking like 25-15, something like that, or
Yeah,
what do we?
that's why we're here. I'm asking, I'm not aware of what she does on the planning and zoning side, so I don't know if that's a 20-hour job or 10 or 15.
What do you think, Amanda?
Sandy, you have a comment? Sandy?
I guess we also we also kind of wanted to know, maybe if the Board of Supervisors was, willing to do like, more like 50-50. So, you increase yours, because like she said, she wasn't gonna be doing sanitation in the winter, I'm sorry, Steve. And would it average out to 2020, half and half?
Give her a full-time job.
Half from the Board of Supervisors and kind of half from the Board of Health.
I would like
That was something that was,
Okay, Amanda?
more even.
Jim, to answer your question, which was, I'm
Which was,
blanking.
well, I said, it was just a proposal, we're looking at 25-15, and then she was talking about 2020, so I guess I'm just wondering what your thoughts are as far as how busy you are in both departments and what you thought a split would be.
So I know my predecessor would take time off in the winter, because it wasn't very busy. But again, I have a lot of records to go through and a lot of parcels in this county to look at. I'm gonna be spending a lot of time on the GIS planning and zoning side this winter. I'm gonna have quite a few hours in planning and zoning. Environmental health, it does back off in the winter with septic systems. However, I still take water tests. Water tests are still available any given week for anybody who would like their private well tested. So I still do that. I mean, I've got 3 tomorrow. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna be busy, especially this winter, going through files, reviewing every single Board of Adjustment meeting that I have record on to figure out, it's gonna be a lot. It may be a multi-year process just to be able to get through all the files that I've got.
So is that 2020?
2020 then? Is that
Or
what
what is it?
I
You're
would-
looking for full-time? Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. That'll help you out on your insurance and too, so.
Mhm.
My question is kind of what are your thoughts on having a full-time position?
I think it'd be a good thing, too.
I think it would be a good thing too. I do too.
She obviously wants to do the job. I mean,
Yes.
it's-
I love my job.
So, I mean, we've seen that every day.
I've heard a lot
She's
of positive
Yeah.
from the public too about her,
Yeah.
that she's.
I love my job. I'd also like to say that I'm very thankful for what you guys gave me a couple months back for a raise. That really did help. It just, yeah, full-time's gonna help a lot. It just, even with that $1.40 or whatever, I mean, that cost of living for me is just not gonna be there yet. But I do wanna say, like, I am very thankful for what you guys gave me. But
Not every day we get somebody to put a shovel in their hand and go digging.
there were
So,
multiple times
but-
I had to put my face in a tank, full tank, this year. It was a great introduction to the job.
So you
Loved
put
it.
your hair up in a bun?
Yeah. Hair was up, and I had to inspect tanks that were full to make sure that, because people wanted to sell their properties, you gotta make sure that if they don't have to fully bring their system up to code, you gotta do what you gotta do. I mean, it's gross, but it doesn't really bother me, so
Good.
Well,
it would be the
I
wrong
guess-
position for me if that bothered me.
I guess what we would need to do is have a motion to make Amanda's job a full-time, 2020.
Well, we would agree on the 20, that board would have to do the other, their thought.
We
Yeah.
have, it's 2020.
Okay.
And that would make her 40 hours.
Okay.
I guess I will make a motion to, sounds like she's got enough work to do to make a 2020 split position.
Mike has made a motion for a 2020 position.
I'll second that.
Mark has seconded. Any further discussion?
I'd like to, you don't have a year in yet, do you?
I do not.
So I would like, let's keep the motion, but I'd like to reevaluate at her year of employment, also. to readdress and see.
So would we have to,
No, I'll just make a note. I do have a question. Is that gonna be effective now or at the beginning of the next fiscal year?
That's a really good question.
January 1st.
well, could we,
Can I do it after my honeymoon?
Brenda?
We're going to take it back to the board, so I'm wondering if we want to wait until that it could all come into effect.
That meeting's January 25th.
Oh, you said fiscal year, okay.
The fiscal year would be in July.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if we want to.
We don't wait that
No,
long.
I don't think we wanna wait
oughta-
that
But if we wait until the Board of Health meeting, that's in January,
Okay.
maybe it could take effect start February, like February 1st.
Does that work, Rachel?
Does
Maybe?
that work for everybody?
Want to amend the motion to, it's based on the Board of Health's decision?
Yeah, I
that
think
was-
that you, I think that would be a good
Okay.
idea, so.
Yeah.
Mike?
Yeah, make that motion based on the Public Health Board's decision, and they will coincide together.
All right. Mark, second?
Sure.
Any further discussion?
Roll call. Mike?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
All right, that is passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, presentation and possible action on Osage Main Street project.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I will go ahead and, we are gonna need he has a presentation for you this morning. So I'm gonna have Tracy kind of help get him all set up tech-wise. And I think we just need to that one and then put yours in, but I can.
It's all right.
There we go.
So while getting everything set up, I will just go ahead and start with my introduction. Today, the MCEDC office would like to introduce Mr. Bryce Davis and his wife Heather, who is actually a school counselor during the day, so she could not be here at this meeting today, but typically Heather would be here as well. The Davises have a presentation for you on the redevelopment of the Maple Lane, which is 702 Main Street in Osage, great big red building on the corner there. This project will require a very competitive grant from the state for $600,000 to be possible. This project has the potential to bring an economic impact to Mitchell County of over $5 million in the coming years. MCEDC is very excited for this project as it addresses the two main deficits in our county, housing and jobs. With the county's help, we can make a large impact in the needs for housing to bring people into Mitchell County to fill the jobs all of our businesses desperately need. The project could position Mitchell County to attract more families to live, work, and enroll their children in our schools. All of this combined increases the taxes going into Mitchell County and creates a beautiful focal point when you come into Mitchell County, into our county seat, sitting right on two highways right there. So without further ado, as soon as this comes up, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Bryce Davis.
Perfect. Well, I am Bryce Davis. A little bit of background on my family. My wife, as Sherry said, is a school counselor for Mason City Public School District. My day job is a city administrator for the city of Eagle Grove. We live on the northeast side of Mason City right now. We have 3 kids, a 16-year-old girl who works at Target for $16 an hour. When I was in her age, I was making $4.50. So we can see the disparity, and I know a lot of you guys can say much less than that. So there's a huge disparity with what kids are making now, and it's extremely unfair because she has first year of NIAC paid for just based on her savings. We have a 12-year-old boy, and then we have a 7-month-old daughter named London, and that is essentially based on what our company is, basically Bridge Investing. So it's just an LLC holding company essentially that we put our assets into, named after my daughter London, because that London Bridge is pretty spectacular. If I can get this going, this would be very awesome. Exactly. Technology is the worst when it doesn't work. Perfect. So our kind of story is we have, my wife's from Osage, and so she has family that raises cattle near Wrightsville. And so one day I had to come to S&S and pick up a half a cow. I drove, picked it up, I decided to tour the town, and there was a massive yellow banner just hanging out on this building there. And it's quite noticeable. So I was able to do one of these with my phone and take a picture of the number, and I gave Colbert Realtors a call, and we toured the building and fell in love with the vision that we believe that we can instill in this cornerstone building. The layout was, we were not expecting it because of the staircase. Basically, where it's tuck pointed right now, you have the corner building where the National Bank was, then you have the Maple Inn, where it's a second story, then it goes to the third story all the way over to above the front porch there. So it's a little bit of a weird layout that we were not expecting, but we can definitely overcome that. Some project experience that I've done. Essentially, we opened up a hotel July of 2020 in Eagle Grove. Basically, we set up the LLC, sold shares. I was construction manager on that project, and we opened up during the pandemic. We were able to renovate a building with 6 apartments in a 1922 Ford dealership building in Eagle Grove, where we did the same thing. We sold shares, and we were able to finish that project, and we received $100,000 from the state for that. And now we're in the project of renovating a school building in Goldfield, which will have 14 units and a rec center unit. That's a population of 600 people, so it's quite the stacking of capital to make that work. The existing condition of the Maple Inn of 702 Main, essentially, it's lath and plaster. It has old cabinets. It's radiator heat. It's knob and tube from an electrical standpoint. It needs some TLC. Essentially, buildings are not meant to be vacant. They're not meant to be underutilized, and so it really takes a toll. And what we want to do is we want to modernize and to rip out and replace. And I'll kind of go through that renovation process here. I just kind of want to show you what the current state of that building is. In the second floor above the bank building, there was a fire in there, and you can kind of see some of those studs there that are charred, which I didn't see anything structural, but we definitely want to get that corrected, because on a hot summer day, you might be able to smell some of the smoke that may or may not still be there. So we'll test that out once we get to the summer again. Original wallpaper, so that's very interesting, the designs that they chose back in the day. Our vision, this was taken from IEDA's downtown assessment that the Osage Chamber and the community members really looked at when they looked at this cornerstone building, which we feel it's doable. It looks lovely. And it is quite unique to use the arches in the bank as a canopy or an awning and create a vestibule on the inside and have that lit up and really expand the glass to showcase the business product that we're going to be putting in the storefront, and just kind of create a staple and just make that building prominent from the corner of the 2 highways there. The facade improvement, what we'd be looking at here, because the city of Osage, the property owner, and other stakeholders went through the downtown facade program years ago. It's new windows and it's tuck pointed. Tuck pointing right now is $18 to $22 a square foot, which makes it extremely difficult to finance those types because it doesn't make you money. All it is it's just aesthetics. It's just fixing what's there. And so the parapet, the dental on the National Bank building, the historic windows, all that tuck pointing and egress really dressed up the building and brought that cost of that renovation project down to a reasonable standard. But just take the square foot of that building and times it by 22, and that's what you're going to pay a mason, just because it's a lost art. Not a lot of masons available. It's difficult work, it's dirty work, but it's costly at the end of the day. What we'd be looking at doing is taking those arches out, saw cutting that base there, punching it out, building a vestibule in there, Where the door is right now above the phone number, we turn that all into glass with most likely aluminum clad toppings for the signage and potential awning. We'd also make it basically bronze aluminum frame glass to be tempered because it would be more than 42 inches above the concrete, which if you have kids are going to run into glass, which is what they do, and so it has to be tempered. Then what we'd be doing is we'd be taking the access option for the residential unit in the same location, which is hiding behind the tree there. We'd open that up into a glass and have a transom window and glass sides, and really just make it a commercial door and make it just a prominent type of location. This is kind of our vision. I'm cheap, and so my 3D modeling, my AutoCAD system it just doesn't give me a lot of options because I don't want to pay for the premium. So when we looked at it, it kind of looked like this type of vision where you have that canopy from the arches, you go in, you'd have a double door there, it'd be filled with glass. We'd use the clock room in the back for storage, as well as for inventory control for the business that we're looking at putting into the main front. So right now there's basically where they cook the Chinese food is on one side, and then the restaurant side is obviously on the other one. There's a partition wall there. We'd rip that open, make it open concept, and we'd have one storefront because we're taking a lot of real estate out to build that vestibule in the bank building. And then we're going to have an opening party, and we're going to try and cut the vault doors and see if there's any money inside. So we're hoping that they didn't take all that out. We're also hoping we don't find anything else. So, but it's going to be incredible to open that lock up. So if anybody knows the combination, that'd be great. It'd save us a lot of time. The side view, we'd be looking once again the arch to open it up. We'd be taking down the exhaust, stainless steel exhaust that you see there. We'd be ripping those down. We'd be replacing the glass block into actual windows to bring in more lighting, and we'd be just basically cleaning that corner up a little bit, but not much will change from that standpoint, minus those ugly, bulky exhaust fans. The back side, we'd repaint the clock room. We would basically install a double door, overhead door for basically freight and moving product in and out. Moving the natural gas there to a different side would be ideal. We'd redo that parking area for the business as well as for FedEx and UPS, and then we'd be repainting that. So we'd be partnering and looking at a mural. Just because I don't like to paint brick, but cinder block is a different story. We can paint that all day long. In the back there, what we'd be looking at, see there's the flashing on the top. Basically, there's some gutters that are dangling there. We need to look at the roof system on the actual building, but the clock room that needs a whole new roof replacement. The cinder block elevator shaft is in good shape. It just needs to be painted a little bit, but that can happen at any time. Window replacement, since the windows in the back were not replaced. There's some tuck pointing that needs to be done in the back. We'd actually move the egress over. So you see the white boxed in door on the back of the bank building. We put our egress option there. We bring it to the clock room. We put a rooftop patio, and then we bring the egress on the east side of the clock room, where the white coolers are right now. I think there's vending machines in there, but there are coolers. So we're going to take that down. We're going to move it, egress option there, and we're going to get rid of the egress staircase that's currently wraps around the elevator shaft into the middle of the third floor. And then we'll be able to create a loadout space for the tenants, which goes right into the elevator shaft, right there where the concrete's kind of cracked and there's some elevation changes there. The color scheme, the material scheme that we're going for is a little bit higher end. So they're not going to be income restricted. They're going to be market rate, but they're going to be nice. They're going to last. They're not going to be something that I have to roll my eyes at. So if I have laminate countertops, what do we all do with laminate countertops? We put something hot on there and it bubbles. We spill water, it bubbles. So we want to go quartz. We want to have basically more of a modern grayscale type of thing, because if you want color, get a throw pillow. But we're not going to have color in the backsplash or in the floors or anything like that. So all units will have washer dryers stackable inside. All units will have electric furnaces. They'll have 50-gallon water heaters. They will, depending on the Osage's water supply, they may have softeners or not. We have to gauge that. But that's kind of what we're going for from the vision of those units. The third story has 14-foot tall ceilings, which makes it perfect to create a loft system. So as you see in the middle, there's a loft system. So we'll have that over the restroom and the kitchen, which creates, we'll use steel frame, which will create about a 6'6" to 7-foot ceiling height for both the bedrooms. And then we'll have a staircase that goes up to the bedroom. So we'll be able to get 2 bedrooms in the third story with a little bit less square footage on the main floor type of thing. So I'll show you what those ranges will be in a second here. Our rooftop bar basically will be removable, but it'll be basically wood frame that it's a composite frame that connects together, and then it'll be put on basically the trusses from the clock room. So when we replace the roof of the clock room, it's spray foam right now, we're actually going to build up. And so that way we can just put it on top. We'll build it up, and then we'll put rubber around it, and then we'll be able to put the patio right on top of those footings, which is a little more structural than just leaving it on top type of thing. That way it's a monoslope roof. It evens it out, makes it look nicer, and then we'll put it far enough away from the building where we don't have to have exterior sprinkler systems. But the tenants will be able to enjoy sitting out and heckling anybody who's walking by. Okay, the main floor layout, still a little bit work in progress, but the red box, that's a staircase to go downstairs. But we're looking at the vestibule. You go inside, open concept, you'll have an office there, you'll have some restrooms. You have your elevator shaft there that can be accessed from the back of the property. Then you have changing rooms and fitting rooms. And then we're going to bust open that wall back to the clock room where you can have your inventory and you can have showrooms or anything like that we need to have for that. The business we're looking at right now is basically boutique, home decor type of thing. Real deals, but not, essentially. That's kind of what we're looking at now. My wife is going to be in charge of that, and I just lay the flooring. That's what I do. Second floor layouts, the red is the staircase that goes up. The green is the staircase that goes to the third floor. So when we look at the units, basically if you go left of the red block, that's a studio. That studio is about 300 square feet, about $550 rent range, give or take, is what we're looking at. We'll have 3 1-bedrooms and 2 2-bedrooms on the second floor. Square foot range, 400 to 600, corresponds with the rent range. 2-bedroom is 800 square feet, and that is basically, we have, the 2-bedroom is right up front where I believe the owners used to live, from what I've been hearing, but it's basically the prominent corner side of the National Bank building will be a 2-bedroom, and then there'll be a 2-bedroom in the back that overlooks the patio and the clock room, and the farmer's market. The third floor layout, that's basically going to be 6 units, 1 1-bedroom, 5 2-bedroom. The red block is a staircase that goes up. That little jut out is the elevator shaft, and then you kind of go into your different rooms. So the layout upstairs is going to be very, very similar. It's just we're going to loft those rooms because we have 14-foot tall ceilings. So in the living room space and in your kitchen seating space, you'll have massive ceilings, and if you've been in there lately, the ceiling kind of cuts those windows in half, and so we're going to bring the ceiling back to the top, and then over the bedrooms you'll have your loft scenario, so you'll have 6 to 7 foot tall ceilings. 600 square feet, that's just the main, that doesn't include the loft system, so there'll be about 800 at the end of the day for both the for the two-bedroom. And then the one-bedroom, we'll just loft that over the restroom and the kitchen piece of it where the cabinets are and things of that nature. Not over the island or the peninsula, but that way you have a little bit more light that comes from the kitchen from those massive windows. And that's kind of the rent range we're looking at. Our timelines, we do have an executed purchase agreement on the property now. So now we're just putting the capital stack together, we're putting the project together, we're making sure that when we do apply and receive the downtown housing grant from the Iowa Economic Development Authority, we're ready to go, we're ready to rock it out. After we receive notice that we've been awarded, we're going to do that close. We're going to move forward with detailing all the construction plans. We're going to move forward with bid letting and basically have a meeting with local contractors, suppliers, vendors, etc. That we need in the project to make sure that they're aware of what we're looking for, and we get a cost estimate from them, and eventually award contracts to many different people. Our goal is by May to begin that demolition process. We're going to have a very, very tight construction process, and there's only one reason why. It has to do with school funding. So I'm sure you can appreciate that. Yep. The count is October 1st. So if we can get people moved in, rented, and get their kids in the school system before October 1, they get counted. And then the next year, the school gets the funding. If we miss that date, then it's going to impact, you're going to spend more on kids until they get caught up, essentially. So that's why we're having an aggressive timeline, is so that we can get them counted. And that brings, I'm not sure what it is now, 6,200, 6,400, 7,400. Inflation, no. So we want to make sure that we get those kids counted, we get the school money, and we go from there. So that's our goal. We'll see if we can hit it, but a lot of things have to align for that to happen. So collective resources, this is a competitive grant application. The grant application is prorated based on the amount of units you're doing. If you're doing less than 10 units, it's basically $300,000 that you can receive from the state. If you're doing more than 10 units, you can go up to $600,000. The glory of this program that we're going after, it's less restrictive. It's COVID money that's brought to the state, and the state basically created a one-time program of $20 million to build downtown housing. Otherwise, we have to go through what's called CDBG, which is the Community Development Block Grant funding, which has environmentals. So this building has asbestos in it. Normally, we just cover it up, but federal requirements we have to take it out. Lead paint abatement. This has obviously lead paint in it. There's ways to rectify that than what the federal government requires, so we don't have to have a contract to do it. We either paint it over, we bag it, tag it, or we just hide it. So there's some things that we can do that we can't do with federal funding. Obviously, public bid, we don't have public bid, which means I can pick the contractors that we want to work with. We can pick the companies that we want to work with to make sure that we get the best price, as well as, for instance, furnaces. Since we're having electric furnaces in the building, it's easier for me to hire a local installer, because if there's a problem, they know what's going on. And so if we're doing a tray-in furnace, they know how to fix that. They know where it's at, they know what to do. They worked on it. So that's nice from that standpoint. So there's a lot of, this makes it a lot easier from a construction process, which means I'm not paying 20% for complication above and beyond the construction price. So right now we're estimating it with everything from the storefront to the whole renovation of the project at about $1.455 million. And kind of breaks it down. We have an equity injection that we're willing to make. We have First Citizens. Right now we're working with, one of the other problems is the appraisal on the building. If you have this building now, it's not going to appraise for anything spectacular. Once you renovate it, then you just need to make sure that you're 80% loan to value. So if the appraisal comes back much less than what we want, we get less money from the bank, and then we have to put some more coin into the project. If it comes in much higher than we want, then we have a max that we want to loan off of, because then the rent won't justify making those debt payments. So there's really a sweet spot that we want, that I like. It's between $40,000 and $55,000 per door, and that depends on rent, occupancy, costs, things of that nature. One of the things that I forgot to mention is there's a 3-stop elevator So we had Schumacher elevator in that. They said it was gonna be about 90,000 to renovate. If we have to basically fix the pit, fix the footing of that elevator, it'll be about $1,000 a foot, and that's about an extra 30,000. So we're budgeting $120,000 for that project alone. We've had Continental Fire, which is a sprinkler system in the building. From a sprinkler system budget, it's about $5 a square foot, and this building is about 12,222 square feet. So those things we obviously have to pay for, but they're not required. They're not required by anything. So we just want to make sure there's an elevator. We want to make sure that it's sprinkled because that helps out everybody if there is a fire, and kind of go from there. So the downtown housing grant, it's in progress. We've had conversations with the city of Osage to be the applicant. The city has to be the applicant for one building, one application. So when you look at the state of Iowa, and you have over 900 towns all vying for $20 million, it's going to be highly competitive. So my guess is they're probably going to get 400 applications. What that means is, people are going to be asking for 150,000 up to 600,000, and we need more partners. We need more support than any other town. So if everybody's going to have a downtown building, everybody's going to have apartments, everybody's going to have, amenities, whether it's washer dryers, whether it's patios, whatever the case may be. A downtown building is pretty similar in every community. It's what is the intrinsic value that people are bringing to the deal, and that's support by local nonprofits, that's support by the city, and frankly, that's why we're here today. One, to keep the county board of supervisors informed on what's going on, but essentially, we'd love your support financially in the project, because a resolution of support goes a long way, but it doesn't go far enough, because it's all based on a scoring system. So the more there's collaboration and partners financially in the deal, the higher you get scored. And then the higher you get scored, the more competitive your application is going to be, and hopefully be approved. So that's essentially what the next steps are, is to finalize the city of Osage's commitment financially to the project in the form of rebates, but also to seek assistance package from the board of supervisors. The total economic impact, basically, depending on who you ask, depending on the surveys that you look at, $20,000 is a average for what people spend downtown if they live into a downtown building. So the Main Street Iowa, the National Main Street Organization, they've done these surveys with tenants downtown, and they came back, and the downtown assessment that was done by Osage Chamber came back at 20 to 40,000. All the numbers I said, they're close to that 20,000, just because in metros, yeah, you're not going to get in your car and drive to the suburbs to Trader Joe's. You're going to go to the local shop every now and then. You're going to go to the local restaurant. The rural towns, it's a lot easier for us to drive, because 30 miles gets you 30 miles, whereas 30 minutes gets you a mile in the big city. So I would try to go on the low. We went on the low side of that. So you take 12 units times one salary in each unit. You get the disposable income. The local option sales tax is based on the utilities and the disposable income. So like sewer, you pay 7%, 1% is local option sales tax. Wet tax, water enterprise tax, you don't pay any sales tax on, it's 5%. And then your utilities, you pay sales tax unless you have a franchise fee in the community. So essentially, utilities you're paying sales tax on, you're also paying utilities on, and local option sales tax, disposable income. So if I take my money and I go to tell you what, they're going to pay wages, they're going to take that someplace else, to the grocery store, or they're going to take it to the bank's going to loan money out. So it's a ripple effect. We didn't count that. What we just counted is a straight up economic impact to the construction process, which is probably going to be putting some money into the community, because we're going to be buying lumber from the lumber yard, the building supplies, we're going to be buying labor, essentially. So that's going to, it's definitely going to cascade. And then property taxes, arbitrarily, it's an estimate of $18,250. We need to get our plans to the assessor to make sure that we have that accurate, but that's just, we know we're going to exceed that. It's almost guaranteed in my mind. And that's how you can contact us. So, that's it. Any questions from the supervisors?
I have some.
Yeah.
Parking as far as the tenants, city parking in the parking lot?
Yeah, essentially, we are assuming that the city is gonna allow us to park in the farmer's market and then just move them when there's events there.
Okay.
Haven't made the ask. There's green space on the south side of the alley that we may be able to pave for angled parking there. But we haven't talked to the city about expanding that.
And then as far as, you discussed local option sales tax as far as the people that are living there. What's your projection as far as the construction costs and how much local option sales tax is gonna be generated by what you're building?
From a material standpoint, we're looking at about $500,000, $500,000 to put from the materials. So we'll have some concrete. We'll have a lot of our wood package is going to be pretty high. You'll probably have electrical. It's about half and half. So you'll probably have 7,500 in material, 7,500 in labor per unit. Plumbing, you're probably at that 12,000, half and half between material and labor. I would say we'll use gypcrete to level the floors out, which is about 75 cents per square foot. So my guess is around 500,000 is going to be spent locally on materials, without bidding that out and seeing where going to the building supplies all across the county and saying, here's our lumber package, here's how many sticks we need, what can you do? My guess is, that's just a guess.
Okay.
Yep. And then 1% of that, essentially.
So you talked about purchasing local materials, and I may have missed it, as far as local contractors doing the work. Did you mention that? Or?
Yeah.
I can't remember if you said that.
Yeah, there's going to be some local contractors on it. Haven't reached out to many, but we'll quote what we want from them in terms of materials and labor to install that. But let's say for Tran furnaces, I deal a lot with De Novo, which is an HVAC supplier. With some of the projects that we've worked on in the past, and they sit right across the hall from basically Tran representatives. And so if we can buy it through them at a discounted price, basically they deliver it to site, and then we have someone local install it.
Okay.
So it's things like that we have to work through to make sure that we can. There's two things that we don't want. We don't want to spend too much money, because then someone's going to have to find the money, or we're going to have to put more money into the project. And two, we don't want to be in a position where the bank shuts us down because cost increases, kind of like what happened in Charles City with that massive cornerstone building. They didn't get all their funding that they were hoping for. They started construction, the bank shut them down because one of the funding mechanisms stopped. It wasn't awarded. So they're $1 million short, and so the bank put a hold on the construction process, and that kind of hurts things a little bit. But so our goal is we're going to ask local contractors, local suppliers. What I like is an appliance store that just started up in the Hardee's, I believe, or starting up, or in the process of startup, or whatever the case may be. But we're going to need stainless steel fridges. We're going to need stoves. We're going to need microwaves. We're going to need sinks and all that jazz. So that's a benefit to us if they can procure that. We're willing to pay a little bit more for local, but there's always a threshold. It's just easier to buy local than getting someone big from the city to come in here. That's kind of a pain. They never come on time. 2 hours late, and they'll leave 2 hours early.
I would also just
Sorry.
to add in that this is such an important project for this community, and in turn, the Mitchell County, that the Osage Economic Betterment has decided to also go ahead and pitch in 3% of the total grant request. So what that equals is about $1,500 per unit, livable unit, or the same as $18,000. So there's enough community interest that, and everyone is seeing that the impact that this can have for Mitchell County, and is very excited about it. I think we have a lot of people here in the room that are pretty excited for this project. So, more questions?
I think we're gonna have trouble with local contractors because there's people that have lived that for years. So the limits,
we have to, if we have to, everybody's missing, like labor is a huge thing no matter where you go. So if you can combine forces under someone else's liability, that might be something to bring two companies together to work on the same project, or split the project where one person's focused on this unit, another person's focused on that unit, and just kind of make it work instead of someone biting off the whole building and just section it out.
I just know that from, so.
What are you asking from the board then?
And we would love $150,000 from the Mitchell County Board.
What's the city committed to?
Right now, on their books, correct me if I'm wrong, is 80% over 10 years. They're in conversations, but there's the only thing that I know for sure that we can apply for is 80% over 10 years at this particular time.
And just to point out, the 150,000 is a big ask, but when you look at the impact this is going to have homes, we have to have homes for people to come to Mitchell County and live here, and also because all of our businesses need workers, and in order for those workers to even consider Mitchell County, we have to have homes to put them. So this is a great option that they can live and work right downtown.
Hi, Barb Schwalm, Superintendent of Schools. This is exactly the type of project we need. It's very exciting that this building could be saved, not knocked down, not be an eyesore, and then utilizing this capacity. We are so short on housing, and I will preach on it until we can fill more and more people here in this county with all the jobs that we have, and our schools have room. And so, again, we're poised for growth. We're poised to do this. Please allow a project like this to happen and support this project, because this is the type of housing our teachers, if we have teachers that move to town that they can afford, young professionals, even people like myself. I have a 5-bedroom house that I don't have any kids anymore. This is the type of project that excites me, that I would want to move into, because again, it's going to be new, it's going to be hip, it's going to be what kids and young people want. Wait, I'm not really a young person anymore, but it's that type of thing. So very excited that you're willing to take on this type of project, and this is what we should be wanting to happen in Mitchell County, to continue the growth that we have, because all 3 school districts are poised for growth. We're ready to do this, but we need the housing. Thank you.
All right. Any other public comment?
I just like to recognize the 2 girls, Patty and Jill. For those who don't know, their folks owned this building for years. They spent a large part of their lives working in it. So anyway, it's got to be exciting for them. I just wanted you to know who they were and what she did.
And with the sisters being part of that.
Would you stand, please, and say your name?
Dean Olson.
Okay, sure.
Married to Jill McGann, that's Patty McGann, Porsche, and her husband Bruce. And we spent a lot of time in that building. And so if you're knocking down walls upstairs, which I know several of us were part of putting those walls up, don't be surprised what you might see written inside of it. As far as the vault door, we know exactly what's behind it, and not saying. But this would be this would be a great project that we would like to see, because it's been too many years that the family has drove by that and not see anything happening there. So we're asking you guys to accept that.
Lindsay.
Lindsay Falk from San Andrew. I think for bang for your buck, time-wise, this is a project ready to go. You know, I like the project you guys doing with the 10,000 for the info lots. This is something you get 12 units really fast. If you get them built, which I hope can be an issue, or fixed, but even if it takes a little bit longer, as soon as one's done, they'll be full. Right in the heart of Main Street. Great project, hope you support.
All right. Stand up, say your name.
I'm Katie Henry. I'm the director of the Osage Chamber. The downtown assessment survey that we had done
as what Bryce utilized for a lot of his presentation. The whole point of us doing that assessment was to address this building. It's been an eyesore for so many years, and we know that the best solution to this, not before the downtown assessment even recommended it, they said retail below, upper story housing. That's the project that we needed to happen. And we have somebody who is ready to invest and do that project exactly what this community needs. I talked to several employers in the county, like Sherry said, we need workers, and workers need a place to live. We want them to live in Mitchell County. We want them to work in Mitchell County. So this project just checks all those boxes. So I hope you support Bryce and Heather's idea.
All right, thank you. Any more public comments? Betty?
Well, as a taxpayer, I'd love to see the board of supervisors support this project, I really would. And I think, you know, that probably some tax financing dollars somehow could be used for that, or the local option sales tax.
Okay.
Have you contacted any private individuals on investing? Like the realtors? They're gonna be making pretty good money out of the chain, as you call it. You haven't reached out to them?
No, we haven't reached out to any outside private investment.
I want to say that I support the project, but the only thing is okay, you come, you want money. Next week, somebody from another town comes and says, we want to do this. You gave it to them, we want this. You know, I mean, it could be it's kind of like a construction incentive program, which hasn't really been discussed, or, you know, I mean, it could be
I would like to say something to that. I completely agree.
You know,
and you're right, it is, you could very much get a handout from every single
everybody,
community.
exactly.
Absolutely. But your job as supervisors is to look at the overall economic impact and the growth for Mitchell County. And so my point to that is, everyone can come with their handout, but if there's no economic value for Mitchell County, then you don't have to accept it. This program and this project, I believe, does have an economic impact. When you look at it, this building, we've seen the state of it, starts to deteriorate and it starts to crumble. It's gonna cost Mitchell County a whole lot more than $150,000 to repair this, to fix it. We're gonna have to shut down highways in order to get repairs done on this building. That's a huge burden that would fall to the county, to the communities. I had another point and I just lost it, so I apologize. But it is a very good point to bring up.
Yeah,
I
this was
my other point with that is daycares. I know that this board has given daycares as a service project because it's in the best interest of the community.
Yep.
Doesn't mean you have to do it across the board, but you give $150,000 to an Osage daycare, you could potentially give it to St. Ansgar or Riceville, and I know that becomes a snowball effect. But the return on the investment in that, in bringing those families to Mitchell County to live and work and have a place for their children, is why you support projects like that. So I hope that the board would look at it, support those projects just like this, because that's gonna give our two biggest needs that we have, those jobs and housing. So.
Because I know they have given to all three of them, to Stacyville.
We've given the two, we are.
We'll take it, well, the third will take it, because.
Well, Osage got money.
Riceville?
Oh, I don't know about Riceville.
Osage
Okay.
and St. Ansgar.
Osage and St. Ansgar, Stacyville got a little bit, I know, but, so, okay.
As one vote, I've lived here my whole life, and that building, it's taken a long time for somebody to step up, and tearing it down, I don't want to see it tore down. It's going to cost a lot of money. If we don't support it and maybe close this gap a little bit, how long is it going to take for somebody else to step up and take care of the eyesore? I mean, I I think those 12 apartments, I'm thinking like Mrs. Schwaman, we get new school teachers in, single, they don't wanna buy a house, that's what they're gonna look at, is a studio or a one-bedroom apartment right downtown. I look at elderly, churches around there, you know, they got the grocery store. It's gonna fill up. And again, I'm just one, I want that building to not be an eyesore anymore.
Right. No, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, by no means.
I apologize if you're gonna say something twice, because I was thinking while you were having your presentation, and so I may have missed some stuff. You talked about the $600,000 grant. Did you discuss your other funding sources?
A little. So we've committed cash to the deal as individuals in the tune of $150,000. We are going to basically get a loan of $480,000, depending on the appraisal process, and what that 80% loan value comes out to be. So we're hoping we can at least get a $600,000 appraisal so we can max out our loan potential. And then we have a grant that we'll apply for. If there's support here, that would be terrific and help fill some of that gap. Osage Betterment Community, they helped out as well through a resolution of support and funding. But then there's a little bit there. Essentially what that's going to do is that's going to cut some costs down in the project. So we'll look at the project and it's $75,000 over the entire project, which we'll look at cutting or doing some more elbow grease to fill that gap. Because right now it's based on what we've seen, what we'll do. But at the end of the day, inflation's high, as we talked about with the CPI. We have lead times, what that does is if I can't order, it's going to take me, right now I'm on a 24-week steel package, but for equipment, if it's 4 to 8 weeks out, I just pay 2 months of construction loan interest. And so what we'll want to do is really tighten those timelines from ordering. So we'll order the lead time stuff first, so that when we get it, it'll cut some of that cost down from construction loan.
Okay, so that being said, you have multiple funding sources, and that's what makes it different as far as compared to what we used to do with the construction incentive program, where we were just handing money out for individual properties. You have a number of entities that are contributing to make this thing happen for the betterment of the community, and it'd be kind of odd if we weren't part of one of those entities helping to make something better to happen here. To me, that justifies our involvement. If you were just coming to ask us for $150,000 because we were the only funding source, well, that'd be kind of like, well, I don't think so. But you have a number of other people that are trying to make this thing happen also, including you. So I wanted to hear you say that.
Right. I think the city of Osage's policy of 80% on a rebate form, that's an operational cost. Sure, we could loan off of that. Because basically, when we pay taxes, we get that rebated back, which lowers the tax burden, but we only pay taxes if the project's operating. And so what the $150,000 here would be more, I shouldn't say upfront, I'd say before construction to perm. So basically, we can get the project done, and then we term it out, and then we can pay taxes, we can pay operational expenses, and then get that rebated back from their standpoint. So right now, we're looking for that upfront assistance to get the project done, and then after that, it's basically operating it. That's one of the major differences in the ask that we're doing here versus what City of Osage offers. Is because if we don't have the money, the funds to get the project done, to start the project and get it done, then there's no way that there's no reason to pay taxes on it, type of thing. So,
Do you have to bond this? What happens if you walk away from it and have a shell sitting there?
Yeah.
And everybody's committed money to it?
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
No. Bond, we can do 3 to 5%, give or take. Yeah, we'll have builder's risk insurance for all the contractors that are involved if they just walk away from the project, or we can do a performance bond on those individuals, but that's going to cost 5% more. So the more difficult pieces of it, we'd have we'd have to take a peek at that, just to make sure that we can finish it out, like you said.
Good. What would happen if we gave the 150 and you don't get the grant?
Obviously, recommendation would be have the bank do the construction loan, and then when the construction loan gets basically turned out, that's when the funds will come in. That way the project's done, and the bank takes all the risk. And when the project's done, you guys can submit the check over to the bank, and the bank takes that, reduces, obviously, their construction loan, pays off their construction loan, and then turns it out. So the project's done by the time it goes to permanent financing. And then you guys don't issue any money until substantial completion of the project. That's just my recommendation.
So even if you don't get your $600,000 grant, it's still gonna happen? Or?
It's gonna be very difficult. to
Well, I
cut
know,
that much
that's what I'm
cost.
wondering, yeah.
But, yeah, we'd still be looking at phasing it in parts, type of thing.
Yeah.
So, it would be difficult, but we'd have to go back to our partners. And
Yeah.
there's also other funding mechanisms that are more complicated, more costly, but they could also work too. What we don't want to do is we don't want to take a beautiful grant like this and then combine it with a federal grant because it federalizes the whole building, which then HUD comes in and throws it later on. So that's complicated.
Have you had an engineer or somebody look at this building to make sure it's feasible for what you want to do?
Yeah. Yep.
You have. I mean, so all of a sudden you got a surprise and, oh, this foundation,
No.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, so the
It could
foundation
be.
right now it's stone, has mortar, basically it's whitewashed.
Okay.
So it's surrounded by mortar. There's brick columns in there.
Is there a basement under that?
There is. Yep. So when you go down, basically it's like a labyrinth. So there's an old steam tunnel. There's brick columns. There's a lot of coolers in there. The elevator shaft mechanical room is under code. It's 6'8", and it needs to be 7 foot tall. All the electronics have to be pulled out. We have to build a better building for those components. Put a smoke detector in there. Put access points for the fire department to go in there and shut it down. Phone, things of that nature. So we got to drain the hydraulic oil in it, and then basically get that all up to snuff. So once we get that piece done, everything else is basically poured floor, brick columns, stone walls. It's pretty dry in there, really, in the scheme of things. I've seen worse. So.
What's your annual rent income projected to be?
We run our pro formas at 85% occupancy.
Okay.
Because if it works at 85% occupancy, it's going to work at 90. It's going to work at 95. And then you have a little bit of fluff that you can probably get down to 70 and break even. Right now, we have to pay for an elevator. We'll have to pay for CCTV camera feed inside the elevator because the code changed, smoke detectors and fire alarm systems, and all that jazz. And we're looking at either RFID or giving everybody keys. It's a lot easier to shut someone, like if they don't pay rent, you evict them. It's a lot easier to shut someone off on RFID than it is to take their key away or rekey the whole door.
Yeah.
Also, giving the police department, giving the fire department those RFIDs so they can get in the building, or give them master keys to get in the building so they don't have to kick the glass. That's also a pain because the keys are less expensive than the glass would be.
Yep.
So that's one thing that we want to take a peek at. Yeah, I mean, I can just do the math quick, but
Yeah,
$750 is where our average
Okay.
rent is.
Yeah, I see
Between
that.
studio and 2-bedroom. So
Yeah.
$750 is where we're running at, because it works at
Nice.
$750, it works at $800, so the market's gonna dictate that at the end of the day.
What's your envision on the downstairs?
Yeah, the storefront.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Real Deals? Home decor, boutique, jewelry.
I don't get out much.
No, haven't heard of them.
Yeah, so essentially,
Just 'cause I
it's
don't
where
go
you
there.
sit in the parking lot while your wife goes in. Yeah.
I gotta get the parking lot.
How many females know what Real Deal is?
Yeah, so it's like that, but because we're so close to Mason City's market, they won't allow another franchise, so well, basically it's an independent brand. It's fancy Target. Yeah.
Steve, just one last interjection. On behalf of the industries that weren't able to be here this morning, they wanted me to convey to you that they are in expansionary modes, which is wonderful for us as a county. But allow these folks who are experienced and energetic and have a great vision to proceed, we all collectively could win. And it would be a tremendous asset to us as a county moving forward and a local focal point of our county seat plan. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any more?
Speaking from a rural point of view, I'm probably not as rural as we can get, but as a taxpayer of farm ground and whatever for over 50 years, and seeing the neighboring towns not even having a grocery store, and I think the second town is going to be without a grocery store. And so, I mean, I've come to this town we have all my life for banking and groceries and trying to do local shopping within the shops that were here and the businesses that were here. And so I think the rural people would also be in favor of something like this to keep the town and have it be vibrating, because, you know, it's a good town within like 20 miles for me and those of us that are very rural, but we don't want to see it go downhill either. And like I said, we've been paying taxes in the county for many years, so I feel it's a good project to go forward with.
Thank you for saying that. Rural perspective. A rural perspective, thank you for saying that.
Okay, any other comments? All right. So, do we have any motions?
I'll move that we approve $150,000 to the Maple Heights apartment project based on substantial completion of the project.
Jim has made a motion.
So when you're saying substantial completion, what do you mean by?
As he talked, it's substantial completion means it's basically done, and then that's when the bank.
When it's,
Go ahead.
when it's really
Yeah, so
happened.
substantial completion is really rent ready.
Rent
There's
ready,
some touch-up things,
okay.
you know, where you're
Yep.
removing a trim package or a door casing and you hit the sheet rock, and then you gotta fix that. So, I mean, it's just little touch-up things
Is
with
that
paint
the-
chips.
Yep. Is that the end when it's a sure thing?
Yes, correct. It's accessible anyway.
Come from local option sales tax.
Jim has made a motion. Do we have a second? Mike has seconded. Any further discussion?
I got one question. So, and I'm thinking this is what, you will put all this on the grant you're applying for, right? And that will, we're hoping that will help by what the city, the other entities that put in, the county supervisors gave our blessing and offering $150,000. That will help on the grant, correct?
Yes, it'll add more points to the decision-making process.
Okay, thank you.
So if it doesn't get completed or nothing, we don't lose our $150?
Correct.
Because looks like a good idea and everything, but I'm sure the previous person that tried to do this had the same vision, didn't they?
I'll have to defer that to some of these other people.
I also think that he's not exactly.
No, I think I can answer that. This type of program wasn't available at that time. It was an entirely different set of parameters.
But didn't he have the same vision to have apartments in there and get the place going?
Same vision, but not the experience and not the state. You know, half the battle in some of these things is to figure out what other decision makers, let's point directly at the state for this one, and the federal government for giving money to the state, but then the state finger pointing what they want to see as a state, and to revitalize, especially our county seats across the state of Iowa, knowing that the county seats at a local level we can't do it ourselves. We'd like to be able to house Bard's new teachers and Valen's new professionals and Fox River's new employees, but we can't do it alone. So we have to find out what the hot points are. And the hot point right now is downtown revitalization, repurposing existing buildings with upper story living. And whether you like it or not, that's the hot button. That's what we need to go after collectively as a county to get as much as we can get to allow these people who are experienced to move forward. All those things weren't at play when it was tried before, but keep in mind that no money was lost on the prior effort. All the money was paid back to the state. The state was made whole. There was nothing that was at loss. In fact, the current property owner stepped up with $60,000 of his own money to do the facade program, which I think today you would say that's probably a bad fiscal idea. Thank God he did it, because you just heard that he said that one of the motivating factors for these folks is the facade is done. Whereas today, to redo the facade would have been quite expensive. I hope that answers your question. That's all.
All right, further discussion. Hearing none.
Roll call, Steve,
Nay.
Jim,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Todd,
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
So, motion is passed. So, any other discussion on this? If
No,
not,
I hope it goes as planned.
Yeah, us too, us too.
It will. Thank you.
Thank you.
put the lights on. Discussion on CADIT, CADIT,
Okay.
CADIT?
Okay, you have it, I can combine grant.
I turned the thermostat down, Jess, are you cold?
I'm always wearing my jacket. So good morning, guys. Public Health was awarded a grant, and in this grant it comes in 3 different parts. It offers a Confinement Grant, which I've talked to Greg Beaver about already last week. It's about a $10,000 grant that he can use. He is discussing this with his deputies and everyone else just to kind of see where they need it. Their focus for that has to be used on COVID, so mitigation, testing of inmates, those types of things in the confinement area. Second part of this grant was for homeless. We don't have any homeless areas here in Mitchell County, so we didn't get awarded any money for that. The third part of this grant was for public health to use on CADE. And what CADE is, it's a Center for Acute Disease Epidemiology. So it's something that I do. Any epidemiology cases that come through that need investigation, I look into those investigations, follow up with families, those types of things. And we use IDES in the state of Iowa for this development. And they are currently upgrading the IDES program, the IDES system. And so they give us an IT grant to be able to meet the needs of their upgrades. So we sat down. I briefly said something to past employment IT. Okay.
Good job, Jim.
So I sat down with and just mentioned it to past IT employees, what do we need? Where are we at? Sat down with Paul as well. And I know in a 2-year plan, they have to upgrade the servers. Is that correct? You guys have a 2-year plan for that? A year and 10 months. Okay. And so the servers have to be updated. And since we don't have full responsibility of that server, we share it with everyone. We wanted to use part of our IT funds to help update the server. So basically, we have until December of the end of next year to use these funds. We can't pay for the full server. You did get a quote. What was your quote for the server?
The quote was, I've got one quote, I'm gonna get 3 quotes.
Okay.
The one quote is at $35,600 for the hardware that does not include labor. So,
And our goal too with this is to, so Paul doesn't have to do this, have solutions come in, and we will take care of that funding too. Our grant does cover someone to come in and do this server upgrade too. So I reached out to the grant coordinator and asked her, hey, we share this server with our county, and she said, yes, you guys can pay or use this grant for a portion of it, but you can't pay for it in full. She just wanted to make sure that we got it on our budgets for next year for the server update, and so we can help with this funding too. So this has to be done by the end of December. Obviously, we're going to make sure that our computer software, all that is up to date for this CADE. I am basically the only one in our office that has that does this work, and so we'll make sure all my computer stuff meets what they are putting out for that. And then we do have money to probably do 40% to help with the server, which is huge. And I know it's ahead of time of the time frame that, a year and 10 months, but we have to use this money in that time, so why not update it, get some help from us from this grant, from the state, and get it updated. So I wanted you guys to be aware that we have these funds. We will help. I can't tell you the amount, but we're thinking 40 to 50% we should be able to help with. So that will be probably on this budget for next year. Yep. So we can wait till the end of July. I had asked him to get quotes because I have to submit all this into my grant coordinator, and she has to approve it actually first before we can go forward. By February 1st. So I'll need the quotes.
2022.
Yes, yep. And so I'll send that into her. I was hoping by January, send it into her, make sure we got approval for it, and then we'll be able to process from there. I know the grant or the meetings that he has for budget, I don't know when it happens, but it may be a hit or miss, but we did want to help out on that, just because this is a pretty nice grant that we got and something that we can update for us and everyone too. So I want you guys to be aware of it. If you see it on his budget, know that it's, it's not time for it, but we do have these funds to help out.
So I don't know, I don't know if you guys have to approve it since it was on the 2-year plan to be replaced sooner.
Correct. Yes.
So that we can.
Or do you see it on your budget?
Just in my mind, it was gonna show up on the July 1st next year's budget regardless.
Okay.
This is a bonus that's showing up.
Yes, and then a bonus that we do have these funds to help with it. So that will be taken off, and once I get the final paperwork and I submit it, I'll be able to know how much we can put towards that. But I'm thinking half of that, which is a huge asset as well too, from the state, so. Do you guys have questions or concerns?
So what would you use the other half the money for?
We have upgrades that we need to make for IDEs. So this is only a CADE upgrade. So since we use a server, it's IT. So I'll be updating my computer, making sure it's Windows 10. I said don't talk to Paul. A new printer, stuff that we use for this, a scanner. I'll get a laptop. I do lots of work from home because when these come in on the weekend or a nighttime, I have a short amount of time I have to be in contact with these people. So it's any reportable case. So you go from COVID as a reportable case, salmonella, hepatitis A, hepatitis B. I do follow up on all that. If a person in Mitchell County tests positive or is diagnosed with that, it comes into my system, and then I have to follow up with that, making sure they stay isolated. If there's any restrictions, if they can't go to daycare, school, if they work in healthcare or work at a restaurant, they can't go to work if they have certain cases either. So I have to do that follow-up immediately.
So if you give us half, you'll have enough other half to cover all your stuff?
So we got a pretty good, we won't use all the money that we got. So I can only pay for half of the server. And I do have plenty of money then to cover what we need on our end.
Shortchange yourself?
No, it won't. And I will make sure that that is taken care of before we do that server. There will be no problems with it all because the money we did receive was high. And we can only do it towards a specific activity. And so we will make sure that gets taken care of and then partial the server.
Get a gold-plated laptop.
I wish.
No, I mean.
Any other questions or anything?
You said 36,000, that was one quote, so you're saying But that didn't include the labor, and I think you may have said, so 40% of that, if it was 36,000, it would be 40% of the 36,000.
Yep, even labor on top of it too, because
But
that
you can do the
covers that.
labor.
Yep, it
Okay.
covers that. So we will, and I gotta make sure it's okay with Leslie and everything, but, that was our first initial conversation, and she said just making sure it's on the budget for you guys. And so you guys were prepared for that as well. And then once we get the quotes, I'll send it in, and I have to submit, something with it, and they will approve it or deny it.
So
And she'll
that'll-
probably tell me, yep, 30%, 40%,
Okay.
whichever.
So that'll come up on, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating what you guys have said, but it takes a while sometimes for this to happen in here. So you'd said on your budget this year, we're gonna have this on our budget, your budget this year, but we know that you're gonna be able to help pay for it.
Yep, and I can't give you an exact amount.
Yeah, I understand.
But it's required, it has to be updated, so these funds will just help with that
Perfect.
as well too, so.
Yep.
It said October of 2022, it ceases to continue, and so it could be delayed, but not in this case.
Yeah.
So if we got the money, it was partially, then we kind of no-brainer.
Yeah.
And my IT, one has to be used by December 31st, 2022. So this server should have to be, in here before December of 2022. May get projected to extend till June 30th, but that's May. I'm not counting on that at all. So we'd like to see that server in and everything submitted before that December 31st timeframe.
But also this dynamic here is the pricing is, Casey had got a quote, lower 20,000. And just recently I got a quote, and we get like 30,000, so that could fluctuate.
So you gotta get 3 quotes?
He was
You
like,
got one.
I got 2, we're gonna do.
Tough to get them, or
What?
tough to get them, or is it just?
New vendors, we're usually focused on solutions.
Mhm.
Want to get help out.
And then also with Greg, we kind of talked about the process of, and I don't know if this affects anything, but if they do anything over there, they will bill us, and then we will pay for it, and then that grant money will come back to us. And so there's not so much transactions that way too, it's just easier all across the board. So that'll be a little bit different for that. I don't know what they've decided or if they've talked about it much, but Greg and I did have that conversation, so.
I hear the word solutions, we still stay with solutions, is that correct?
I mean, I would talk to them just to make sure everything.
They're the primary vendor.
Because I think they're pretty helpful, right? I mean, I didn't know if we were going with somebody else, or?
No, but I
Okay.
do like to keep vendors honest.
Correct, yeah, I'm with
If
you.
market stuff up on us, we know so much.
Yeah.
We're competitors, so.
Okay, yeah,
But, yeah, they
I
are
think-
primary.
thank you.
You have to say Solutions didn't like me last week with this thing, so.
Is that where you get, look at your computer and printers and everything you need?
Not through Solutions, I'll probably just work with Paul or somewhere. It's hard to come up with any technology equipment nowadays, so I'll work with someone to find that. I don't need a lot.
Servers are integrated into the whole thing, whereas computers stand alone.
Go.
You can choose.
And I will make sure I have the correct things. I'll check with him before I do order anything. And they haven't actually come out with this upgrade of what system they're gonna use. And so I'm waiting for that guidance too of, they did say it was gonna be a web-based, which is what we use now. And so is there anything more that I'm gonna need? But we do have plenty of funds to be able to pay for half the server and then the additional stuff that we need in the office, so.
Very good.
So if you guys have questions or concerns, but do know that is coming up, and we'll be collaborating with that as the time comes, so.
Well, it has nothing to do with this one, but did you guys get all of your little iPads for?
That had to do with the ARPA grant, I think, right, or the funds there.
Yeah.
And they did not get them all, and that's for the home health
Yeah.
side of things. I don't think all of them have came yet, just because it's hard to find
Yeah.
iPads at this time. So I think they're working on it. But we do have someone that has been dropping a couple off here and there for us. I think maybe we have 6 now.
She dropped 5 off the other day, so 5 for Laura.
Yep, so I think 7 total we have right now, so.
'Cause I was changing, computer companies, wasn't it, or software?
Yep, we had to, our documentation, where we do for home health, where they document, we had to change companies because they were leaving. So we had to switch to a matrix company that required these iPads. So that was on the home health side, yep, and we can't use that, this is only for public
Right,
health,
yeah,
yep.
just was
That's
asking
what
for
we're
it.
charging nursing.
That was kind of a short window they had to get them, didn't they?
Yes. Are you done with the training?
We're still in the training process, so, by January 1st, we are starting to switch everyone over to this new software, but they're actually in training right now, so.
And I think that's just the goal of them too.
Yeah.
How many more are you short, do you know?
I don't know, but she's working on it. We have someone that's getting it
Bring
for
it up,
us
yeah.
as we need them, yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, there's Laura.
Okay. I have them all ordered, we were able to find them, and so Gary Lander got them ordered for us, and as they slowly come in, he is dropping them off. So we've gotten 4 out of the 13 that we've ordered. So, but they should be here by the time we go live February 1st.
Okay.
And if you guys have any questions about this, as it gets approved, I will let Paul know. Hopefully it gets approved, and we'll go from there. And then I'll let him know the amount, percentage of what is approved as well, too. So we have to go through, as they said earlier, the state, and they'll say yes, no, but I did get the go-ahead to make sure it was on the budget for the foreseeable future, so, okay?
Yep.
You guys have any questions, let me know, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Moving on, items of note, meetings attended. Jim?
Okay, had an Upper Cedar Watershed Management meeting, approved the agenda, approved the minutes. Highlights of the meeting, I will say, are, there was an urban conservation practices demonstration project in Charles City, and what that is to try to alleviate stormwater runoff from areas, so they're using permeable concrete and areas, I'll just call them catch basins, that have the water soak in rather than have things run off. So the thing is, the focus is usually on conservation practices in the rural areas. That's what we always think of, well, this is what can we do for urban areas, and so that's what they're trying to kind of do with some ideas for that. And then a guy by the name of Steve Conrady from the DNR, and this is kind of something we've always talked about, so I figured it's kind of important for me to bring it up. All these watersheds want us to start contributing money, and a lot of them are based on hiring a coordinator, and I can kind of see the justification of a coordinator, because if you have a coordinator for a watershed, they have more focus in there. You can actually probably get more accomplished within the watershed that they represent. Some coordinators are now starting to represent 2 different watersheds, but the question is, how are you going to pay for a coordinator? Hence, get money from the entities involved, donations from counties. And this guy said a lot of the people have the idea of based on the population of the county. I brought up, I'm not really for that, because we have 3 or 4 watersheds within our county alone. I'll just say we have 10,500 people here. That doesn't really make sense that we're plugging in a dollar amount for each watershed based on 10,500 people, because the shell rock, it doesn't even run through our county, and we're part of that watershed. So I brought up the idea, well, how about basing it off of the amount of acres that drain into a watershed? I mean, that would be a lot more fair thing. And he said, yep, that's definitely a consideration. So if you go to any of your watershed meetings, keep that in mind, that, well, if we do have to contribute, let's base it on how many acres we're draining into this watershed, not just a lump sum dollar amount. Just my thoughts. And we changed our bylaws for there so that Zoom was considered to be only for emergency situations, and now it's considered a standard practice with a procedure where you can be on Zoom or you can be in attendance personally, it doesn't make any difference.
You just go to Charles City.
I just go Charles City, yeah. But now for this one, second judicial, I didn't drive to Webster City, I Zoomed it, because that's what I did.
Yeah.
And so at that meeting, some highlights of that are, they talked about parole and probation for people that are in prison. And she said 82% of individuals released on probation don't return to prison, but only 50 to 55% of people that go on parole do not return, meaning people that are just go on parole usually end up winding back up in prison. And she said those people are usually prison savvy, whereas I don't know how to explain it, but prison actually teaches some of these individuals how to stay the way they are, as far as how to be thieves and how to be not good people for society. Prison sometimes actually teaches them to do that. Apparently, probation is a much better option. You know, you go see your probation officer, it kind of keeps you in line a lot better. Another thing that they're using for that is it's called the Tech to Connect program. That's tablets, whereas these individuals have to use their tablets to check in with there's 4 monitors that monitor individuals, participants. And the participants that have the tablets increase the number of clients that can be monitored by one individual. So that's a program that helps keep people out of prison. The third meeting that I had was North Iowa Port Authority meeting, and it was just more discussion regarding the natural gas that's needed for this large high-end user that's probably going to be coming to the Manly Terminal. It'll be a great thing, so it's a neat company. Sell jet fuel to the Navy.
Really?
Big deal, yes. Yeah.
Maybe we can start buying our hot rod cars back, get that Torino out.
I'll have the time to get her done.
That's all I had.
I didn't have any meetings this week.
Well, I
But I
think
attended
Mark and
here.
I had our safety meeting was right after this week, or last week's board meeting. They discussed the review of emergency action plan, discussed to update the county services building back door and lock. Discussion to compose EAP for secondary road and conservation buildings. And we had some discussion on property needs, cybersecurity needs, training concerns. Then there was the department head discussion, so. Anyways, that was my meeting.
Same
And
meeting.
Mark's.
We talked about putting the cameras up, that guy that, then I went to the city council meeting last night in St. Ansgar. Nothing too exciting there, but that was it.
Really no me's, but just, I think Iowa Select, we were well represented there. I think they were very happy that we did come. All 5 of us. I was told that. I think you guys probably were told that. And compensation board meeting, enough said.
Yeah, I guess I attended that too.
As far as the Iowa Select thing, I'll just add to that a little bit, just because you said that. I got that same impression too, that board of supervisors don't usually do what we did there as far as going to help hand those things out. I got that impression that the 5 of us did go to do that.
And I will tell you that, so the main girl, I can't remember names very well, but the one that sent us the email.
Yeah, the red
to
tights.
ask if we wanted to help. There was another girl that when I was leaving came over and said, this normally doesn't happen. She said, I just want to thank you guys for coming and helping out, and she was, I don't know, all we did was hand them out.
Yeah.
I mean, but apparently they appreciated it.
How many of those loans went just by, in Osage? I mean,
I know, lots,
holy
yeah.
smokes.
They
I
do,
mean, and we know a lot of people, and people knew us, and I think
Yeah.
it was just a good,
they do that in 30 different sites.
Man, that's a big deal.
Yeah, they do. They give back a lot.
Hats, scarves, and sweatshirts.
Minus a half.
That's all I had.
All right. Any other comments? There's nobody here, so do we have any motions to
Clean them
adjourn?
out. So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting is over.
Nay.